Hello and welcome to this edition of The Verified with me, Mustapha K. Today I have a regular guest. I think this would be your fourth?
Probably somewhere around that time.
Yeah.
Somewhere around that time.
Dr. Usman Gajigo, welcome to The Verified.
Thank you for having me.
Great. Now, for the second time of the four, I think you are a member of the Patriotic Progressive Alliance, which is a sort of a political party in the making.
Yes.
And you filed your registration processes with the IEC, Independent Electoral Commission.
Yes.
And awaiting messages.
Exactly.
Confirmation.
Yes.
What's the state of affairs?
Yeah, well, this process is, as you said, we filed the registration papers for PPA, Patriotic Progressive Alliance. We filed that several months ago. The process is obviously a long process which you don't have control over as the aspiring, party creators. So we are waiting for IEC. We understand that the process involves a lot of checks, but we hope that very soon we will hear from them, and we hope to. In the meantime, we are not, resting and just waiting. We've done quite a lot of grassroots effort, which we have been doing quite a bit. I would say the meetings that we've had across various communities and locations has been at least 100 since the submission of 100, at least 100. And we've reached every region of the country, virtually every constituency. We've met people on the ground. And so that's, it's a level of work. I'm very confident.
What form does these meetings take?
Again, these are not political rallies because, again, we are not yet a political party, so they are not rallies. But that's not something we need at this stage. The form these takes are basically grassroots meetings with various segments of society. It could be women's group, youth, farmers, people, sports teams. We meet them in private locations. They're usually very small groups where you can have a conversation, because we believe what is important is it's not just to come and have a big staged event where only a few speakers speak. We want to have a conversation with the people where you sit down, you tell them what what you are trying to create. You also listen to people, what their concerns are, what their disappointments have been, what they are used to seeing from other political parties, what do they want to see differently. Yeah. So in other words, we are coming in to make a difference. We don't want to come in and do what has been done all the time. We want to talk to people. We want to make sure that we basically approach this in a way that is in consonance with the change we want to have.
So how are those? How receptive are people to those meetings?
Very, very receptive. I mean,
but they're interest group focused. So, for example, those with football or interest in football, you talk to them about football.
Yeah, so there's not a single group we talk to. We talk to a group that is football focused. Of course, we talk to youth, and we all know sports is a big part.
Yeah.
But we wanted to avoid this idea of reducing the youth to just sports.
Sports, yeah.
Yeah, because even if you meet youth, a group of youth in a football field, that's just a location.
Yeah.
But it's an opportunity where you have the youth together.
Employment, migration.
Indeed. So for me, I tell them sports is an opportunity in the Gambia for many things. It brings youth together to do sports, yes. But then when this is the one venue where they can regularly come together, it's also a venue where a lot of community initiatives can be discussed. The structures that are already there for managing and playing football can easily be translated into structures for performing work in the community.
So, I mean, so far, how do you see the reception across the country? I mean, would you say that you now a familiar face, or at least the party is a familiar?
Absolutely. Like I said, at least 100 meetings over the past 3 months alone.
That's a lot.
That is a significant amount of meetings. Yeah. But you also have to realize this is not
only you did it, or you do it with the team, or you do it with the structures in every region.
So what has been an advantage to us is that even before I formed the party, there have been engagements I've been doing in communities across various areas. Things like for the past 3 years, I've been engaged in agroforestry projects, and this is almost exclusively with youths, where we propagate seedlings of many different kinds of trees, whether they are flower trees, fruit trees, wild trees, to transplant them in their communities. We've been doing this for a while. And we've been doing this with communities, particularly with youth in those communities across the whole region. We've also had a project where we've helped women garden. This is an initiative I started more than 4 years ago. And, over this year, we've covered over 90 villages and towns in terms of those with community gardens. In addition to that, we've had initiatives where we've helped communities with some communities that had businesses that they needed help in resurrecting. We try to link them with groups that can, that have the means of helping them resurrect it. Sometimes what they needed is a bit of capital, other things like that. So before this party was created, we've been engaging with people based on development needs. So given the reason why we've created a political party to address the unmet needs of the people, we didn't just approach the people and say, give us your support, we will do X and Y after we get your support. So we approach the people with a certain level of credibility that that I think is very rare to find in a political party, because those events that those events and initiatives that we had with the communities, those are credible, those are development impact oriented, with or without a political party. Yeah. And with or without a political party, they will continue.
So this was how you started touching base with communities.
Exactly.
Before you started a political activity.
Indeed. And in fact, it is as a result of touching base with those communities and seeing the significance, the degree of the unmet need, and seeing that even if you do those grassroots efforts, those development efforts, you can only do so much as a non-government entity.
Yeah, but this was an NGO that was doing it, which was part of it was also your money.
Exactly, pretty much. Yeah. So in a way, so basically, as a political party, when we came in, we already knew which issues were salient for the lives of the people. And when we approach people about the change we want to bring, the level of credibility that we, that we have with regards to people, is very, very different from almost every other political party.
So you went back to those structures to tell them for the beginning,
yes.
Tell them, well, I am interested now to become president.
Yes.
And I'm hoping you would support me.
Yes.
And through those structures you activated way back, also you went back to start the political mobilization.
Exactly.
At the grassroots.
Pretty much. In fact, it is quite interesting. Through those structures, in fact, before we formed the political party, we received basically, appeals from the people saying, the development impact that you guys are doing through your engagements, we believe people like you are, capable, of doing even more. Right now, you could still achieve a lot more just restricting your activities to what you are doing right now. But imagine what could be achieved if people like you are in government, people like you are in charge of policies, in charge of program and policy implementation.
Well, basically, for what you do regarding gardening is to provide seedlings,
yes.
water,
irrigation, fencing.
But that's also largely because you're also involved in gardening.
Exactly. So as a personal level, it all initiated with my own gardening, my own farms, which I started in 2015. So in those communities, I would let the women come and use the land because it was fenced, there was water, they can grow whatever they want. And more and more women started coming. We realized we didn't have enough space for that. So we started engaging with them. Why didn't they, why is it that all of them are coming to the garden? Why not their own areas? What are the challenges they face? And this is how we begin to have an intimate.
So they started telling you, we don't have a space. But
we don't have space. We don't have seeds. We don't have water. We don't have a good fence. And we all know gardening is a dry season activity and animals are left to wander around. So if all of these things are missing, you basically don't have an economic activity in the dry season. And this is the case in most parts of our rural areas. In fact, also in urban areas. So it was through that activity that, the difficulties that people are facing in this horticultural subsector became something that I got a very intimate understanding with. And as I went around the country, I realized this was a widespread problem. So I actually had I said, before I engage on a program of to assist these community gardens, I need to understand the scale of the problem. So I literally went around the country and surveyed all the gardens across almost every district. The ones that I found at the time that were operating were about a little less than 150. I went and did a survey, found out on average what is the size of this garden, how many women work there, what their typical problems are. The average size of the garden was about 3 hectares in the country. The average number of people working in those gardens is about a little less than 300. But the problems were almost uniformly similar across the country. Seeds is a problem. All the seeds are imported. And each year, because of inflation, their prices are going up. Water is a big problem. Even this garden that supposedly have a borehole that is funded by a project like Grassroots, the water is not enough. Not a single one of them that have a garden can tell you the water is enough. Most of them would be like a place like Dankungo, Kanikunda. They have to alternate between watering. Vegetable, you have to water every day from morning to evening. But in many of these gardens, if you water today, tomorrow you can't water. You have to allow another group to water. So water is a problem. Cold storage is a problem. Fencing is a problem. Marketing is a problem. So these problems are widespread. So we decided to create this initiative, a foundation that would assist. So we, dug boreholes, did fencing for some communities, and we provide seeds and fertilizer across many. The first year we covered only about 50 villages or so. Then each year has been increasing. This year we reached about almost 100.
Great. So, we'll probably come to issue of agriculture much later on.
Sure.
Right now, we are approaching a huge political season. Political Sanjano all over here. And I said that because 2026 is going to be a presidential election.
Yes.
Almost probably exactly a year from now.
Yes.
About
a little less than a year.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because elections are going to be done in December.
5th December, I believe.
5th December.
Yes.
Okay, so right now there are talks of alliances.
Yes.
Alliances. Is this, there are folks who think that this is coming too early. Do you think it's coming too early, or this is the right time to start conversations around alliances?
Well, it all depends on what's the detail there. When it comes to planning, it's never too early to plan. Yeah, so putting plans in motion, getting the conversation going, making sure that all the stakeholders are, apprised, is never too early. There are certain activities that can be made too early, like deciding on who to contact, deciding on what mechanisms to be determining basically who's going to lead coalition. These are the details there. So things need to happen in sequence. In terms of planning, it's not too early. You can never start that too early. Even if it started 3 years ago, it wasn't too early. It's the components of the process. Some can be done too early. Yeah. So, like I said, to the extent that we are talking about initiating the process, it's not too early. But there are certain aspects that the sequence in which you do them matters a lot.
So right now, talks have started, and I think there are probably up to around 3.
Yes, I'm aware of at least 3 separate initiatives that are trying to bring the opposition parties together to form an alliance.
That would be...
There is one called the Patriotic Alliance for Change, PAC. It's a group that is led by people based on the ground, and they've been actually at it for several months now, and have successfully brought together many movements and political parties. There was a few weeks back, there was a press conference at Alliance Française, which was attended by some media group, where the group presented itself to the public, made a statement about what they were doing, what their goals are, and I believe it was well received. There was, just a week ago, another group called Coalition for System Change, This is again organized by some of the individuals in that CAC were part of active members of NAD that created the coalition in 2016.
That would be Kebafun and others.
Yes, Kebafun and others. Yes, there's several individuals in it.
NAD, that's the 2006 one.
Yes. Exactly. So, but even in the subsequent ones later on, these same individuals were involved in them. So that event again, that group had a event in the Paradise Suite Hotel last week, and many parties were invited. I think that was the first public engagement. Not every party invited attended.
But all the parties were invited.
All the political parties, indeed.
That's the one I had, the UDP and the United Democratic Party for Independence, Socialism and whatever.
Yes.
PDYS.
Right.
Was not present?
I think, yeah, they were not present. It could be maybe due to, other events, some conflict, scheduling conflict. I don't believe that they've rejected the initiative. I think, again, I know there was one party that wanted to attend, but there was a miscommunication on the date, and they couldn't attend. So not everyone who didn't attend, there could be some innocent explanation. But like I said, this is just the beginning. It was the first public event. Let's wait to see how.
What happened on that day? What was the task of the day?
Well, basically, I understand. I mean, of course, the initiators of this had several engagements among themselves, but that was their first direct engagement with the political parties. So basically, it was to unveil their initiative to the political parties and to the public. Incidentally, I wasn't, the program of the event wasn't shared, so I wasn't aware that the event, personally, I wasn't aware that the event was going to be like a public event. I thought it was going to be a meeting of the political party, so I wasn't appropriately dressed for the occasion. But my understanding is the event was basically the unveiling of that initiative, just like previous ones had been unveiled to the public, to unveil it to the political parties, tell them what the goals of it are, what the principles, and seek their, basically there was a form that was handed out of all political parties to seek their consent to be part of the process.
That was, okay, all right. So effectively all of you who were there are effectively part of this process now.
No, yeah. So we were given a bit, and we're supposed to go back to our groups and then fill out the process, and then so come back.
It's an initiative that is ongoing.
It's ongoing. This is actually the early stage.
Those who are not at the table, like PDS and UDP, are still part of that process.
They can be part
effectively,
of it. Yes,
can be part of that process.
Yes, because that day was the day they were effectively handed the formal document, so that to indicate their interest to be part of the process. So at some point we will find out later who are the parties that have accepted to be part. So it's interestingly for CAC, it's not just political parties. They've invited civil society organizations to be part of it. Not just actually registered parties, but soon to be registered parties and movements, as well as civil society organizations. They want it to be a very broad process. And then the third initiative is another group that is again composed of people based in the diaspora and people based locally. That group has not come out to the public yet. I'm sure they will at the time of their choosing. So I don't have information yet on who is there, who are the leaders, but I'm sure very soon they will also do a public engagement.
So, I mean, at this time, I mean, what's it going to be like? Do you think that, I mean, in terms of your own modality or your own preferred method, there are more contentious issues like choosing who leads the coalition. At what point do you think this should be decided, and how do you think this should be decided, based on what you guys are thinking from your own end?
Yeah, from PPA's
because
perspective.
Of course this can change depending on the circumstances, but everybody has to have a position.
Exactly. No, I mean, I think this part you mentioned, like the mechanism for the selection of the if there is an alliance or a coalition, the mechanism for the selection of its leader, that's going to be the most consequential part and probably the most difficult decision.
Contentious,
contentious one. So from what I understand, in each of these initiatives, these 3 initiatives, they have a process involved. The first process is to bring the parties together based on certain principles and a common goal. That is going to be the first step. The issue of selecting who the flag bearer would be for the eventual coalition or alliance, it's something that will be later down the road. It will be like among the last decisions made. But before that is done, a mechanism would have to be agreed upon. So all of those things are not yet formalized and concretized yet. So the issue of how the flag bearer will be selected is something none of these 3 initiatives have actually. First, they have to bring people around the table. Get them,
have the conversation.
Do some confidence building. Make sure that everyone, the goal is shared by everyone. Everyone is on the same page, and then from there, the mechanism will be created, and then so that's something that is several months down the road. So we, as currently the leader of PPA, I believe that that's the right approach, and
you don't think it should be done by now?
No, I think it would be too early. I think it would be too early to do right now because all of these initiatives, remember, it would have been a bit too early to do that last year or even before because the political field is still not cleared. There are new movements coming up. There are parties in the process of being registered. And right now, there's a lot of things fluid. Parties are breaking up. New alliances are being formed, as we have all seen. So, if you had done this a few months earlier, a lot of things would unravel. So I think, having a process where the mechanism for the selection of a flag bearer and the actual selection, to have that further into 2026, I think it's a good idea. And I, as the leader of PPA, actually, that's something I also agree with.
So, the issue of coalition in the Gambia has been very contentious. And I think that, of course, in any initiative you are going to go into understanding the history of it is also very significant in terms of helping you to know what to expect and prepare for it. And I would imagine you guys have done your own assessments. If you look at, so for example, of course, even until now, you have much bigger parties, on paper and based on history, like UDP, for example, that believes that they should lead, their candidates should lead, and others support them, like the Senegalese PASTEF alliance kind of thing. Do you guys think that that's a feasible way to approach the talks, or do you think that's a precondition is bad for an alliance or prospective alliance?
No, I think right now, like I said, we have all these 3 initiatives now have started. These things have to start from basically ground zero. I don't think it's a good idea to start any of these things with with any preconditions. And you hear all sort of preconditions in the media right now. Some of them are favor some of the larger parties. Some of them actually don't favor the larger parties. I'm saying we should actually
cancel all
the preconditions. Some would say okay, maybe like you said, UDP is the largest one, this would automatically lead. I think it would not be a good idea to form a coalition based on a precondition like that. It also wouldn't be a good idea to base a precondition on to say, somebody is electable Therefore, they cannot be, don't have any preconditions.
So somebody is like, and others, like another issue is that there are others who think Darboe is not electable and therefore cannot lead.
Exactly. So if you do that also,
because if you do that also, that then Darboe says, then I don't have to be at the table.
Exactly. So
I'm cancelled out naturally.
Exactly. So we all have our opinion, but I think in a process like this, that's why the people who are bringing, it's important that they are not part of any particular party.
Yeah.
Because that is needed for confidence building, and people sit down and we flesh out what should be the common principles to bind every member of these talks, and to make sure what our goals are for 2026. Once those things become clear, a lot of these preconceived notions, tend to, fall on the wayside. I think there is scope. There is definitely opportunity for us to come together.
Well, how then do you get everybody at the table in good faith?
Yes.
That we trust the process, and whatever the process produces, we subject ourselves to that.
That's why the sequence, like I said, the sequence of events matters. That's why you don't go straight into the selection mechanism for the flag bearer. This is the most contentious part, and the reason why it's so contentious is that it is informed by many preconceived notions. Some of them some of them vocalize, some of them not vocalize about, so the first thing that's to have that confidence building process is to make sure that you have a lot of conversations, meetings of the minds preceding the selection process. And what I've seen, which gives me confidence that one or three of these initiatives will work out, is that all of those three processes are approaching it that way. There are confidence building exercises and communication processes well before you reach that point where you have a mechanism.
One of the contentious things that would come out, and most definitely will come out, is that there are others who have already made public positions on certain people.
Yes.
And of course, you probably may not have made a public position on Darboe, but there are folks who've made public position on Hussein.
I think a couple of us did.
Yes, and on UDP. And if you now come to the table with Hussein, Hussein is going to process your actions and your behavior based on your publicly made statements on him. And whatever, that is going to go into his decision making.
Exactly.
And so will the entire larger UDP leadership.
Exactly.
And so that could also, and not just UDP, I'm talking about vice versa.
Yes. No, the thing we have to realize is the fact that any of us have gone out to create a political party means that we've seen something in the status quo that we disagree with. So whether it is said or not, it should be assumed that every political party or every movement that is out there believes that they are bringing something to the table that the existing legacy parties didn't bring. So even if that was not said, that's something we should assume.
Yes.
But again, just because something is said does not, like I said before, when we go here, when we go to this table to discuss, we have to go and talk about what the common principles are, what the goals are.
With an open mind.
With an open mind.
Yeah.
That part of that open mind is also being able to, as leaders, we are, you don't have to be a president of the country to be a leader. In all our spheres of activities, we can be leaders. And as I said at that event, you can demonstrate the characteristics of a good leader, even if you are not selected as the flag bearer. So part of that leadership qualities is to put things in perspective. Even if there is a pointed criticism of a political party by another, that is part of this process we are in. The political arena is a contest between political ideas, between ideologies. It goes without saying that we will say something about other political parties, about their suitability, about their electability. But when the time comes for discussion for this coalition, it is important that we put those in perspective. Whether it is said or not, the fact that you have a new political party that is different from any existing one,
so you differ.
That is a statement that
but that's a statement in regarding principles, regarding, okay, you can disagree with UDP on the fundamentals.
Yes.
Say, for example, you do not think their policies are effective or are going to be effective, or you do not think they are going to be effective in fighting corruption, or you do not think their leadership is efficient. You can disagree on principle on those.
Exactly.
And that's a fundamentally different thing from saying their leader is not electable. That's a political statement. And if you said, for example, their leader is not electable, that means we cannot have their leader. You've already taken a position also that we cannot have their leader lead the coalition.
Right.
So if they are going to come, wouldn't that sort of, and I'm not saying I'm just taking UDP as an example. There are many such statements oppositions have made against each other.
Yes, about other candidates as well.
Yes, so I'm just using UDP as an example.
I agree with you. That will definitely complicate the discussion.
Yeah.
Now, will it make it impossible? No. None of this discussion, the fact that we are talking about it today, the fact that it's a topic of discussion, the fact that it's something that different initiatives of Gambian across all walks of life, across different geographic areas are spending resources and effort. Means the fact that all of these things are happening means that this is it's not going to be some easy kitchen table talk.
Yeah.
It's something that is going to be quite intensive. So yes, I agree with you. The fact that those statements are made it's going to complicate the talks. But is it something that should completely torpedo them? I don't think so.
Let's talk about the issue of data. So, for example, if you look at UDP, for example, if you look at UDP, if you look at past election records, and as you're going into alliances, and UDP has always said that that it has the strength, and it has its history to prove that. So wouldn't to sort of also bring, what other conditions do you think should be brought to the table? So, for example, there is an option of collecting data ahead of time to also show who has a broader appeal. Okay, I don't know if you're following. Like you can select all the candidates and do a data and do a survey to see who has a broader appeal. But you can also rely on historical data of past elections and choose who has a broader appeal based on history. But then that will cancel out new entrants. Okay? Exactly. And that will cancel out also the possibility of knowing the appeal of the new entrants. Now, which one do you think is the most preferred method for you? I mean, do we rely on data to know what the future will look like? Or do we rely on the history to send us into the future?
As somebody who's going to be a participant in the process, I'm not going to prejudge what mechanism we should have for the selection of the flag bearer. But as you correctly pointed out, any of these initiatives, there are pros and cons. So as far as what the coalition building process should be, that is something that when all the parties are sitting around the table, this would be something that gets the input from all the parties. There will be some parties that will favor a particular process. There will be some that will favor another one. But right now, as somebody who I hope to be part of this process, I shouldn't prejudge it.
Yeah, you want to go with an open mind.
Yes, I should go with an open mind because that's something that will be discussed. I mean, it will be a delicate process of discussing that. But, we can talk about all of this in hypothetical. As you said, somebody can point to the fact that here is one party that has been consistently getting, large number of votes. But then again, the amount of votes that a party gets in a particular election is a function of who their opponents are. It's a function of all the available candidates and what was the campaign process up to that point. If you look at today, a simple survey is done to see who are the most electable also. It is going to be a function of name recognition, and that's going to favor people who have been long-term politicians. There are a lot of new parties coming up who have never contested at a national level. And we still have 12 months to go, which is a lifetime in politics. So if that sort of data work is done today, it is not going to be very informative because it's going to be confounded by issues of name recognition, which many candidates can remedy in the next coming months. So that's why it's important to point out that issues of like opinion polls for elections, the timing matters. How close to the election, how predictable an opinion poll is for an election outcome is a function of how close to the election. If you do something well a year ahead of, you are just measuring name recognition. But as people who have done this for quite a bit of time, if you speak to them, they'll tell you the credibility or the predictability of an opinion poll, is a function of how close you are. Because by then, all the parties that needed to go and meet the people, they should have done their work. So 2 months before the election, that would be a very, if it's done correctly, such an opinion poll will be highly predictive of who will, fare well in an election. But 1 year is too early, especially in a state of flux as the current Gambian political environment is.
So, in the talks, was Jammeh invited? Because he's in opposition now.
Yeah. Well, I seriously doubt it. Like I said, I wasn't one of the initiators, so the ones who were in those committees.
But was NATO Alliance there?
No, they were not in that event that I attended. No.
Well, I would imagine, those guys are members of the coalition. They were involved in the past coalitions against Jammeh, so I would imagine maybe they think Jammeh...
Oh, you mean APRC as opposed to NATO Alliance?
NATO Alliance, yes.
NATO Alliance. Well, the problem is that the NATO Alliance is not really a political party.
It's a movement.
Yeah. I wasn't even aware that they've actually, so
it's a movement.
It's a movement, right? Okay. So I cannot answer your question. I don't know if they were invited, but I know the CSC event that was done and the PAC event that was done, they were not there. Yeah. Whether they were,
effectively, if they were there, then Jammeh was invited.
Yes. So I suspected they probably were not invited. Yes.
Do you think Jammeh is going to be invited?
At some
point, yeah, because he's an opposition and he still has a very large appeal.
I don't think so, and I would be very surprised because you could have a political party, invited, but the issue of whether Jammeh himself would be invited or whether he would have an active role in it, I think you'll have a lot of people, including me, who would have an issue with that if Jammeh plays an active role.
But if they have NATO Alliance, that effectively Jammeh.
Yeah, like I said, well, we'll see when that happens. Like I said, I'm not aware of them being in any of these initiatives. The ones that I have been involved in, I can tell you for sure, they were not in the CSC event, they were not in the PAC event, the PAC event.
Is that a deal breaker for you guys? If NATO Alliance is there?
See, the NATO Alliance is a movement right now.
Yes, it's a movement.
It's not an actual political party. It doesn't have a particular structure in this. And so right now you have several people in the National Assembly who are actually, as far as I am concerned, who are not just active members, but they play a very positive role there. Jiba is one of them.
Yes.
I don't agree with every position that he has, but I definitely admire and respect the role he plays actively. I think the quality of the role he plays in terms of keeping the executive in check is quite exemplary. So I personally won't have any problem aligning with Jiba. Yes. But then again, somebody could say if you align with Jiba, you are aligning with Jammeh. I don't think so. That's necessarily the case. I personally have it's a red line for me to align with Yahya Jammeh. I would say that categorically. It's absolute red lines. I will have no communication with him. It's not a position of my party. It's not something I plan on doing. And as far as I'm concerned, I don't think any of these initiatives plan on having him play any role in it. Yeah. But there's nothing to stop somebody like Mr. Jiba, Mr. Bakari Baji.
Bakari split. Bakari
okay.
is
He is officially.
Bakari is officially in his own ring now.
Okay. So there may be other ones, other names who are technically,
There are three now. Tumanding, Jiba, and there's a third one. Yes, but the two, Bakari and Kamara, the lady, are not. Have split. The lady has gone to
Fonyi Brefet, of the name for Fonyi Brefet.
Yes,
has
gone to
NPP,
and the other one has gone to Bakari is on his own.
Exactly. So it's one of those things where this is a bit, on any given day, it's difficult to tell really who, who is a member or not. Do we wait for an audio from Jammeh or not? Yes. There is no official letter. So for me, I would rather, it's a movement. In this particular case, I would rather go by the individual. But to answer your question, so individual in this case, Yahya Jammeh, as far as I know, and I do not expect any of these three initiatives to invite him. I think that would be a red line for many of them, including me.
So the issue of because also alliances are very complicated. So for example, you may not want to align with Jammeh, but your partners in alliance may want to align with Jammeh.
Yeah.
And in that kind of a situation, you either have one option, stay and be in direct alliance with Babili Mansa, or walk away.
Right.
So would it be a deal breaker for you guys even within that context?
Like I said, again, there are a lot of hypotheticals we can talk about in this particular case. So it will not be advisable to prejudge many things that will make or break the coalition. I think we should go with an open mind. And there's a lot of devils in the details. Like I said again, there are people who people consider part of the NATO Alliance who can play NATO Alliance part, who are members of NATO Alliance who can play a critical role in alliance formation. And we shouldn't have a blanket rule that exclude them. But what I can tell you right now is my position that we have absolutely no plans and no interest in having any direct talks with Yahya Jammeh or any representative that he is going to designate. Now, if there is a broader coalition and then there is room there to bring members of NATO Alliance. The details there, can be worked out. I'm not going to say, the devil is in the details in there. So right now, I cannot make any categorical statement that if other, members of that are talking to them, I think, there are a lot of details that could be worked out that is acceptable. But one has to be quite clear. In any coalition, here or an alliance that's going to contest, Jammeh playing a critical role in its formation or decision making, that one would be a deal breaker for me.
Let's go into, this is the last final part on this coalition. Gambian oppositions have tried a very long time to form a coalition. I mean, almost all the time. Probably every other moment after 1996, this struggle was very strong. Every election year it becomes prominent. And 2016 they finally had a break. And even when they had a break in 2016, they still had somebody who split. Which accidentally became strategic in a way. But before we talked about that, let's address the issue of coalition 2016, how it later disintegrated. And we've seen they had fears that somebody is going to betray, somebody is going to stab each other in the back, somebody, all of these fears from different perspectives. And those fears came to be realized in the form of breaking away immediately after. Do you not think that those fears could haunt the current talks?
Oh, I'm sure they will definitely haunt. Especially for those who have been through that process. That's why. But again, we have to approach each year as completely new. We have a lot of new players in this coming 2026 coalition. It should come to pass. We cannot allow, we cannot be victims we cannot trap ourselves in the history of other efforts at coalition. We also cannot, forget about what has happened. So we have to learn from history. The key here is to see what lessons we can draw from previous failures. 2016 was a qualified success in the way that, yes, we ended up with a grouping of many parties, and that grouping ended up defeating the incumbent. But then, as everybody knows, the disintegration happened afterwards, and as we all know, we had a change in personnel, but the system that really perpetrated that lack of development still stays in place. So it was a qualified. It's not a complete success. So I agree with you that the coalition building is a difficult exercise. Here you have each individual party that is created. Their leader believe that they can do a better job of running the country. So bringing people together, and so that people can make their personal political interests subordinate to the national interest is a difficult process.
It's a difficult process.
Yeah, even if everybody is absolutely sincere, one party member can be absolutely certain that they are the best candidate. Another one can be absolutely certain they are the best candidate. The fact that they don't disagree is not a sign of insincerity. It could just be they genuinely disagree as to who will be the best.
Genuinely believe in in whatever they said.
Yeah. So that's why this is an inherently difficult process.
But then what I was trying to get at is the history of it. Like, for example, you people may be newcomers, but for example, I mean, folks like PDOIS, the UDP, a lot of
GDC
and others, at least have participated. I mean, for PDOIS, tons of them.
Yes.
For them and GDC, maybe just once. They attempted in 2016, it failed. And in 2016, there was a success. And after that success, there were a lot of allegations of backstabbing here and there. So that history could in itself
could be an obstacle to, yes. No, it definitely could be. But like I said, as difficult as it is, we need to take each year as a new opportunity, and we cannot be
erase the memories of.
Yeah, we cannot be hostages to the past. I was in part of the coalition negotiations in 2016 or earlier. There are many other new political, players who are not part of it, but we intend to play a significant part of it this year, and the same individuals who were there previously may have different goals now. I mean, there are some people who were in that process in 2016 or earlier that are now part of the incumbent. NRP is one, My Party is one, Citizens Alliance. So the complexion of the difficulty, the inherent difficulty of the process remains. But the participants are different. We are in a different time period. I believe we obviously should learn from what has happened, but we cannot be hostages to history.
Yeah. So another issue that I want us to look at is the issue of the complexities, the complex nature of alliances. So there is a simplistic assumption that once we have oppositions in one group, they are going to defeat Barrow. And I mean, alliances all over the world teaches us that people go to the group once they think that the preferred candidate and the agenda they serve supports their cause. But they also split away, even within their own group, if they don't believe in that. So, for example, you can have an alliance led by, let's say, PPA, okay? And somebody in UDP does not think Usman is a much better leader, and he splits from UDP itself because UDP supports you. We've seen UMC split from UDP because UDP selected Hussein, and they think, well, Hussein is a suitable candidate. You've seen that can happen, okay? Now, that can affect a coalition, but also strategically, there is no telling that that could not also affect the incumbent, right?
Yes. Indeed.
How does that play into the whole sort of chemistry of building a strategic coalition?
Exactly.
Not just a coalition, but a strategic coalition.
Yeah. No, I mean, this is going to be, you're absolutely right. I am not of the belief that just because I believe that Barrow is unpopular, that any candidate that is chosen in a coalition will easily beat. I don't believe that. I think that's why a lot of thought has to go into the selection mechanism for an eventual coalition or alliance and who that person would be. Like I at this stage it's going to be too early, since I'm going to be part of the process to prejudge that. But I just want to buttress that point, that I also believe that you just cannot say, as long as the opposition comes together, whoever they pick is going to. Because as you said, if you pick the wrong candidate, God forbid we do that, you can easily have the situation where some people who previously would have voted for an opposition would now find the incumbent
more appealing.
Yeah, or less bad.
Yeah.
They go and vote, as they say, figuratively holding their nose and voting. It's like, I don't support this guy, but I would prefer him over some opposition. So it's
or in any case, which also is like voting for the opposition.
Yes.
Which is like voting for the incumbent, also abstaining.
Abstaining. Yes.
Once you abstain, you are also voting for the incumbent.
No, I mean, any decision, not voting and not voting, these are all statements.
Yes.
Yes, and they all are very consequential.
Yeah.
So it could be the case where somebody withhold their vote, or completely refuse to participate, and in that case, the candidate they would have voted for now has lost a potential vote. So that has helped the other party.
I've talked about chemistry within a context. I mean, the rights to the core of the meaning of the word. The reason why I talked about it is, so for example, you can have an alliance where, there's an alliance of 3 political parties that had more appeal for Barrow's base. Okay, you can have that.
Yes.
And an alliance of 3 with significant appeal for Barrow's base can badly wound Barrow and leave him vulnerable for somebody else to win.
Yes.
That's also a possibility.
Exactly.
Like we've seen happen in 2016, where Kande took so much from Jammeh that he left him vulnerable for the coalition 2016 to win. Because imagine we could ask this question, would Kande's supporters have voted for Jammeh?
Yes.
Yeah.
If Kande had joined the coalition, would his votes automatically have come to the coalition, or as opposed to going to Jammeh or splitting along some line?
Yes. So do you see that also some sort of study is necessary to go into this?
No, absolutely.
So the coalition is not just coalition, but it's also a strategic alliance that is meant to be on the defense and on the offense.
Yes, absolutely. That's one thing, unfortunately, that has been absent in Gambia, that sort of data work. This is incumbent upon the parties themselves to do that. And unfortunately, it has been missing in the Gambian opposition, where it's all about a lot of claims, unsubstantiated claims. But it's totally feasible. Nobody knows how, based on the final configuration of a coalition, who comes together versus whether we're going to have one coalition or 2 separate coalitions, how that will affect the overall vote. It can go anyway, depending on who comes together, whether we have one coalition, opposition coalition, or 2 opposition coalitions. How that will split out there are a lot of possibilities, a lot of possible arrangement of votes. At the end of the day, whether this coalition formation is going to be data driven, I don't know. In all likelihood, probably not. most alliance formations are not really an exercise in social science where it is data driven. It's a negotiation process. That's what's going to happen. But your point here, I think the possibilities you raise are quite, possible. If you have a situation where there is, more than 2 candidates, you have the incumbent and his supporters. You'll have 2 groups of opposition. It is quite possible that you can have, some supporters draw votes from the incumbent as opposed to split opposition. So
Yes.
I think the point you are raising here
Yes.
is quite important, because many people just assume that the more opposition parties you have, as opposed to one single coalition, they assume that the more opposition you have, the more chances the incumbent has. As if the incumbent
doesn't follow.
No, it doesn't. It's not like that. It's not as if there is a certain group that will just stick with Barrow no matter what.
No.
There are, like I said, who gets a vote, whether the amount of vote the incumbent has or the amount of vote any political party has, is a function of who the other competitors are.
Yes.
So
Support
you
is
can
based on context and many
it's
other
very
factors,
context dependent.
Yeah.
You can have a situation where it might be possible that Barrow becomes more defeatable in a situation where opposition has is in 2 coalitions. The opposition is broken into 2 coalitions. That's probably that is quite possible that Barrow is probably more beatable in that. I think I personally, my preference would be a situation where the whole opposition, they come together, pick a credible leader, not only one who can easily beat Barrow, but who can beat Barrow and then help take us out of this mess we are in, then develop the country. That is the hope.
So, for example, look at the context. Mama Kande ran individually in 2016.
Yes.
He took 17% of the votes. Okay? Now he ran with the support of Jammeh
Yes.
in 2021.
Yes. And
Okay?
got less.
And got far less. He got 12% of the votes. Okay? Now, there's something in this, right? I mean, so if you do a bit of a data work, you probably could, because you can't, can you just focus on amassing support and not weakening the opponent? Okay? So, for example, right now, if based on the past election data, if all of you oppositions come together, you are still far less
than
away
50%.
Yes. So unless you have someone who is taking from Barrow,
Yes.
you can't win him.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter what sort of.
And who is going to take from Barrow? Nobody can base that based on past election. Because on past election, Barrow got majority. So which is why the process for selecting the leader of the eventual coalition, that's something that has to be negotiated, and we take all factors into account. We cannot base it on one set of reasoning that says it's based on historical data or based on certain sort of thing, because each election is a completely new context.
But you would agree with me, wouldn't you, that if you have to base it on data, then that data should have been harvested before the elections?
Yeah, I mean,
so that if I come with my history, you can also come with your data.
Exactly.
Because if I come with my history and you said, well, but we have to, then you are in a difficult position.
No, the data, if you want the data to be meaningful, that data has to be collected at a high frequency every time, because perceptions shift. Economic environment, news that comes that affects, that affects favorably the incumbent or unfavorably, them or the opposition. These things can happen at a random time of the year. So this data that has to be used has to be collected at a high frequency all the way to the eve of the election.
But do you not think that, I mean, this is going to be the final question. Regarding the chemistry of the coalition, you can even form a coalition, can't you? That could even help the president, the incumbent.
Yes.
So, for example, you can form the coalition of the wrong candidate.
Yes. This is why
and also choose the wrong leader.
Absolutely.
And instead of killing the incumbent, you are strengthening him.
Listen, we want, like we said, we want every Gambian you speak to right now, not everyone, the majority of the Gambian you speak to, they want a change, but not just a change in, the key here is to go back to why we are in this in the first place. We want a change, but not just a change in leader. We just don't want to replace Adama Barrow with any other person. We want a break from what is happening right now and to put the country on a better economic footing. So if you just, it's quite possible to bring a candidate who people can look at and say, hey, this guy doesn't represent a real fundamental change. You know, better stick with the devil you know than the devil you don't know. So it's possible to pick a candidate where that will be a gift to Adama Barrow. He would want a particular candidate. So that is possible, and we need to make sure that this is something we avoid. Which is why the idea that, you know, if there is a coalition, as long as we all come together, if we pick one, that I don't believe that.
So in terms of the issue of also after the elections, you know, even if a coalition comes to power, it can be messy.
Yes.
And a lot of times that also has affected the efficiency and effectiveness of coalition governments.
Indeed. In many ways, if you want real change, that's the part you have to worry about. So for me, that's what I've always mentioned before. It's not just change, but it's equally important is the day after the election. And remember, if you pick the wrong candidate, it doesn't matter what agreements you have in place, what signatures have been signed, even in front of the cameras. You don't have any mechanism to enforce those agreements now. Here, you are dealing with an individual who now become the most powerful person in the country. You know, so you need to make sure you pick very carefully, so that you are not going to be depending on some agreement that you wrote, but you are going to be counting on that person's integrity. Because right now, the checks and balances that we hope to have in a real strengthening, in a real democracy in the Gambia in the future, those are not there yet. The president can still nominate members in National Assembly. The president can do many things. So those real checks and balances are not there. So if you don't choose carefully and you have the wrong person there, it doesn't matter what agreements we have here now. We cannot enforce them. So our best guard, our best, the best thing we can do to make sure that the eventual winner would be, you know, motivated purely by what is in the national interest, is to make sure we select carefully based on integrity and ability, you know, so that tomorrow it is that integrity that even when nobody is watching, that will be driving that person's action. Because those agreements we signed during negotiations, none of them will be enforceable.
Meaningless paperwork.
Just piece of paper. They are as useless as the paper you wrap your tapalapa with when you go to the shop.
But do you not think also, I mean, this is, I promise this will be the final question on the coalition. Do you not think also, we have seen in 2016, there are a lot of folks who argued that the lack of trust within the oppositions had made them sort of, should I say, overact, you know, sort of, I don't know whether the right word would be overcompensate. Sort of, they make the process too rigorous and too idealistic. Sort of the executive,
the process
the president will not be an executive president. The president can resign 3 years after the president. They have put so much safeguards just because of that lack of trust that they seem to have overdue the process. Do you not think that lack of trust also plays into the psychology? You can overdo certain things as you.
Well, the premise of that question is that there was a lack of trust. Maybe that was the case. It's not something I suspect it's probably true. There was that lack of trust. Right now, I would say again, it's important. Let us not be, hostages to the history. So we don't go with the assumption that currently I do not believe that within the opposition there is a fundamental or a high degree of lack of trust right now. Yes, I think like any opposition.
Well, because now the space is diluted by a lot of newcomers and a lot of also breakaways. Political party don't be your name. You know, yesterday I told somebody in UDP, "Inka isal nyanda kono falal de bayri altuli baro hudu ali and now tali fana hulu." Anyway, so I think we would move on to a different subject now, and you were reminded that you're watching The Verified with me, Mustapha K. Today It's Dr. Usman Gajigo with me. It's this is the fourth time or the fifth time I'm having
somewhere around
verified. Dr. Gajigo has been active in NGO business where he was helping women farmers and also some agricultural workers around the country until now. He formed a political party, well, which is not registered yet, but it's in the process of registration, called Progressive Patriotic Alliance. And Patriotic Progressive Alliance.
Yes.
I don't know why progressive is there. No.
Well, if you want to dissect these names, they can just go on forever. But
Yes.
so now it's a name, the PPA.
Exactly. And so yeah, I mean, let's move on to the last segment of this program. I mean, in the last few days, what we have seen is huge rising toll of a death toll.
Yes.
On the high seas. Gambians are dying. You know, the latest action, I think, when we started this show, there was a WhatsApp call coming from somebody who is a migrant activist. He sent me a press release that is talking about saying a lot of Gambians are dying. And I mean, are you following the news in the first place?
Yeah, no, I'm definitely following the news, like most people have been following, and just been horrified with the number of first of all, before this really tragic event happened, is the volume of departures.
Yeah.
The unfortunate thing is our government itself doesn't do a good job of, the government is in a position where they could track these numbers so that, we make our discussion is based on facts.
Yeah.
But right now, with the exception of these migrant activists who are valiantly going around documenting and highlighting all of these challenges people are facing, our government is basically, they prefer not to talk about it. In fact, when this event happened, I think people, other groups, civil society, political opposition parties have been making statements. But the government has been
issued a statement, I think, yesterday.
But that is sort of like, again, on other occasions where it's like, in
fact, they said they are investigating to confirm. Said. Yeah.
So it's a very this is a very big issue. I've been following it. The volume that has been steadily increasing over time, and of course, every once in a while, I believe the number of deaths are far more than we are aware, because some of these events, when they happen, we only know about them after they have not arrived and nobody has called from there. So, and they only become news if the numbers are big. But even if only one person has died on a boat, that is a tragedy. And some of these individual boats that go, we don't know how many lives are lost.
So exactly, we are talking about hundreds of Gambians dying each year.
Yes.
Like the last time, I think one of the activists told me around 1,700. I mean, COVID didn't kill that much. I'm not sure even if malaria kills that much now.
I mean, it's, and also you have to look at the age group. No, malaria mortality is concentrated among infants. But we are talking about people at the peak of these are youths.
Yes.
Of course, occasionally you'll have some minors in these boats, but for the most part, we are talking about young people at their prime age. These are not the group that usually suffers from adult mortality of almost any kind. So this is a very, very unusually high number, but also the segment of the society that has been affected already should give us quite a significant amount of pause.
But what seems to be incredible, Usman, is that I follow, there are 2 or 3 WhatsApp groups I am in, which is created by Ibrahim Jammeh. He does this migrant activism.
That's Ibrahim Migrant. Yes, as people know him on social media.
And Ibrahim, in that group, if you are, it feels as though it's a world of its own.
Yes.
Okay? But yet, boats are disappearing every day. Not once do you hear anyone talk about it. We have grown numb to it.
Exactly. This has, I've been following. The problem again here is data. Like, as apart from maybe IOM occasionally, the data, remember in the US government was, I briefly worked for the US Embassy in 2015, yes. 2016, where they wanted information on this, and it was, I had to dig a bit on this migrant situation. And a lot of the data I ended up getting was from Europe. Basically, it was look at the numbers that were processed in Lampedusa and other landing points. And at the time, of course, in 2015 and 16, the numbers were extremely high. Of course, after this election in 2016, things went down significantly. But over the past couple of years, the numbers started rising significantly.
Yes.
Even based on the numbers from EU. Because what EU does, they have a number on first-time applicants of asylum, but that's an under reporting, because not all of these people who arrive go and file an asylum case.
So, and it seems to be, before the 2021 elections, a boat left, reportedly mainly from folks in Jambu. 200 people disappeared. No one talked about it. No press release, nothing. Do you think that, in other countries, if there is an accident killing 10 people, the government makes a statement about it. 200 people disappears in a boat. No one talks about it. And this is a series of incidents.
Exactly. So it is quite remarkable if you sit down and think about it. The problem is, I think the issue here is the silence is from the different segments of society is for different reasons. From the people don't talk about, because we think of it as tragic as it is. These young people, we all sort of understand why they have to go. Because there are no opportunities here. Of course, whenever I talk to any young person, I tell them, as hard as it is, try to do your best and see what you can do here. Of course, if you have a legal opportunity, if you have an opportunity to go to any country, that doesn't involve going through the back way, of course, take that opportunity. I was lucky enough, like many other Gambians, who had an opportunity to go out of the country through the irregular way, by taking a flight. But again, if somebody decided to go, they save the little money they have to go through the back way, we all understand why they have to do it. As much as we wouldn't recommend it. There are family members who, some people don't even tell their family members they are going, some tell their family members they are going, and some get discouraged, some don't get discouraged. It all differs, but everyone understands why these people are going. On the part of the government, there is silence, but for a different reason. It is complete and utter failure on their part in turning around this economy, in creating opportunities for young people. So what would they do? They go and have engagements with their EU partners. They get this token assistance, but they have no answer for addressing the fundamental economic problems that is leading these young people to go. That's why they are completely silent. For me, what I find very surprising is, why do we have, you would hear once in a while the government would announce, some people were arrested for trying to travel irregular way. What law did they break? I'm still at a loss. I can understand if you are trying to steal somebody's boat, or if there is a minor you are trying to transport who's not your child. But if an adult takes a boat that they legally own and they're paying to be in someone's boat to go and cross, why is the government's action concentrated on that? Because if anything, what you are doing is you are driving this activity deeper and deeper underground.
In fact, in a lot of those cases, they leave the young people, they only arrest the owner of the boat and charge him for smuggling. I'm not even sure whether we have domestic laws around smuggling.
But I mean, the announcements are here tend to make it seem like even the people attempting to board are initially detained.
They detain them, but they eventually release them.
But why arrest them? Because there's no law. You cannot put
for wanting to travel.
The reason I have a problem with that is, these accidents become more frequent as the boats that are used are most, as they become less seaworthy. The kinds of people also who will be, because if somebody wants to do this in a legitimate way, let's say take people across, and they know that they are subject to arrest, some of these people would leave. So you leave this game, the people who are bringing the boats, transporting people, will be left to the risk takers, the ones who wouldn't, put much care into the kinds of boats they bring in people. My worry is arresting, people for trying to leave will make this process a lot more risky and a lot more dangerous. And therefore, you're going to have situations where people, simple devices you can put on these boats, like GPS tracking systems, devices like, some sort of, some idea for people to know if a boat is leaving, how many people are in it. All of those things will now be impossible to do. And therefore, even when there is an incident like this, we only learn about it weeks after the fact, when it becomes impossible to do any sort of rescue. Because these people, basically, they didn't arrive when they were supposed to.
Yeah.
We don't know if the boat has capsized, if it has drifted into the Atlantic. All of these things, we have no idea.
If they've been shot.
Exactly.
Anything.
We have no idea what happened. So,
generally, government also, much of what the government does in respect of this is what they had to do with EU. And EU is more interested in militarizing the stopping of the migrants and not necessarily the other way around.
Yeah, no, that is a very unfortunate truth there, because just like, our government here, as I've pointed out before, when development projects we have here, these are not development projects we design for our own needs. Projects come to us that are already designed by donors, and then we try to implement, and we implement them very poorly. It's the same thing that's happening here. This is fundamentally is an economic problem. It's not a military or law operation problem.
Yeah.
People are trying to live for a better life. What you need is to give them opportunities here. And it is the responsibility of the government to design programs that address the needs of these people. And then they work with EU. But it's not like, we are, right now IOM is running a project that wasn't designed by that hasn't been designed by the Gambian government to help people with, like the stories that your newspaper wrote on youth being offered, entrepreneurship opportunities that is not in their interest.
Yeah.
How can you ask somebody to go run a business that he doesn't know anything about, he's not interested in it? It's not going to work.
It's not going to work.
So these projects, these assistance from EU that are focused more on, law enforcement or stopping these people, providing equipment to our military,
Navy,
that is not addressing the problem. But I will not put the blame on the EU. The blame is on our government by not standing for what is in the interest of the country, by not proposing opportunities that would create alternatives for young people, alternatives to going away on risky. None of these people are suicidal. They want to live better lives. That's why they are going. But if you see them taking such a high amount of risk and getting on this boat, it must mean that the conditions in our countries, in our country today is just intolerable. So the problem here is an economic problem, and the fact that the EU assistance we are getting is focused only on military equipment and no, principally, not exclusively, but principally on those, that is a failure on the part of the government.
What do you think the government can do in a situation like this? I said this because if you look at the data, it seems to point to a significant decline in agricultural productivity.
Yes.
And also it seems to point at a significant inequality gap between rural and urban area, which seems to be connected,
Exactly.
And a lot of people who are migrating are from the rural communities. Now, there seems to be a correlation between low agricultural productivity, rural neglect, and rising migration.
Absolutely. This is why, for me, and I've been saying this for a long time, that this country, the development, if you want this country to move forward, whether you're talking about development in general, or whether you're talking about youth employment in general, whether you're talking about inflation, whether you're talking about youth migration, the root cause of it is the quite terrible circumstances in our agricultural sector. Unless that is addressed, this issue of the rising cost of living, issue of economic growth, issue of youth unemployment, which is directly tied to this out migration, it will not be addressed. Because agriculture is important because it addresses not only issues of like poverty and employment directly, but it is the foundation. Without developing the agricultural sector, you cannot have economic transformation.
Yeah.
Right now, we have only a two-sector economy. We have a poor faring agriculture and a low-quality service. There is no industry that's labor-absorbing, dynamic manufacturing, processing sector. We don't have it. That sector cannot grow by itself unless agriculture grows. Agriculture must grow. You must have agricultural productivity, and productivity here I mean in terms of yield, in terms of value added per worker. When you have that, you have high volume of production. It stabilizes, you absorb a lot of people, you create opportunities. Then intermediate goods that agriculture can produce, they become intermediate goods for things like agro-processing and industrialization. As those also boom, they absorb workers. They absorb a lot of workers, especially young people. Then you have an economic transformation. You have an economy now that has three sectors. You don't have an economy like the one in the Gambia right now, where we have two sectors. Low productive agriculture, low quality service. This is why our economy is driven by two main things. The level of rainfall and tourism arrival. For the past 40 years, these are the only things that drive the Gambian economy. If the rainfall is good, agricultural production goes up, GDP goes up. When something happens, tourism sector goes up, it also affects our economy. Like the Ebola crisis, when it happened, even though nothing happened to agriculture, our economy plummeted. If you look at the biggest predictor of our economy is always rainfall. COVID also, obviously. So the thing that the issue here is, if you look at our economy right now, this is the sector that has been faring very, very poorly. If you look at rice productivity, we are the lowest in ECOWAS. In all of ECOWAS, beyond even countries like Sierra Leone, Liberia, countries that have been in civil war. Groundnut production, it has been going down. The groundnut production today under Adama Barrow on average is about a third of what it was under President Jawara. Half of what it was under Jammeh. Why? We all know. The inputs are not there. The returns to farmers in terms of the prices they receive is very low. But that's just the main parts. Rice cultivation, what has happened there? All the projects that we've received from developing partners to develop the rice sector, they have been squandered. The story that I shared recently in a newspaper article about a $500 million project completely squandered by an associate of the president. The government has
This was in which village? In
Limbambulu.
Yeah.
But it's not the only one. Damfakunda also in Tumana district.
So they gave them 500 million.
They gave a loan to the Gambia government in 2015.
A loan?
A loan. We have to pay that for the next 30 years. We have to pay that loan, 500 million, for the next 30 years.
To develop a rice field.
These are areas of the country where there are rice right on the river. It's supposed to be for rice irrigation. And in those areas, you have a lot of young people, young men who work in rice cultivation, because you can cultivate the rice in the dry season and in the rainy season. The money was given to develop land, to have an irrigation pump, to irrigate water from the river. There'll be all sorts of things, levees, dams, so that there'll be an irrigation process, irrigation infrastructure there. So they'll be able to cultivate in rainy season and in the dry season. In Limbambulu, the whole rice field is 1 kilometer by 500 meters. That's 50 hectares. Not only was the money wasted, this company that was given the contract, they destroyed the field. They actually literally destroyed it. So the area that these villagers used to farm, now they can't even farm it. Out of 50 hectares, they are farming now in less than 10 hectares. So people who would have been employed in that community, now they are either looking for something around in urban areas or looking for the next boat that is leaving. Can you blame them? You can't. So our agricultural sector has collapsed. The productivity, that is output per land, has gone down. Output per worker has gone down. It's every sector. Livestock, rice cultivation and horticulture, something I have been involved in. We have a lot of these horticultural gardens. They are supposed to get a lot of help from projects that are coming, but basically some of them get some some assistance from JIRA, from Roots, but by and large they get almost nothing from the Gambia government. In fact, when I wanted information on the number of gardens we have in the country, their characteristics, so that I can implement my project, the government had no data. So the government right now cannot even tell. They cannot even tell you how many gardens there are in the country. What is the number of women in garden? What is their output? What sort of assistance in terms of quantity that they would need in terms of quantity, allocation from the budget. So basically, just to circle back to say that you are absolutely right on the money. This is why it's very important that the focus on agriculture, it's becomes a priority in this government, and which is why the party that I'm creating, this is our number one priority. Because without the agricultural sector receiving the investment and attention it needs, our economy is not going anywhere. Youth employment will just increase, and therefore this migration problem, this fundamental economic problem, will just keep on increasing. And the government has no answer to that, which is why they have been completely silent.
Do you not think that we are being less deliberate in how we strategize our problems? So, for example, the question could have been that we do not sit down to strategize solutions to our problems. Maybe we just rely on development aid, donor support, this, donor that, and those people come with their own assessment, ideas of what we need, and their own projects and their own funding priorities and things like that.
Absolutely.
Do you not think that the plan should have been indigenous, from the planning to funding to everything?
Exactly. No, listen, I've worked on the other side. I've worked in this international organization. I know that if you have a project, you can have a project where it is either completely designed from the country or designed by the development partners. As smart as these people at the World Bank, or African Development Bank or UN is, they are not an expert in developing a country. They can assist a country along the way. The solutions to a country's development challenges have to be designed at home. Because after all, you are going to have to implement it. So this is something that has been fundamentally missing. So you're absolutely right here. The problem that we are facing in the Gambia is the solutions to our development problem, particularly in this important area of agriculture. These are things that are not designed here. They are just cookie-cutter problems that are just brought in, and then our CPCU starts implementing them. Today, if you ask any of our ministers, the characteristics of these projects, what priority areas they are supposed to address, the implementation, the details of the implementation, they have no idea. In fact, if you look at the budget in agriculture, they don't have much in terms of development. When you ask, and I remember Minister CDK being asked, saying something to the effect that, oh, yeah, it looks like we don't have a lot in agriculture, but we like to let you know that a lot of it is being financed by development partners. Well, you've basically just outsourced the implementation of your most important sector to development partners. That projects, or those individual projects, they should come in as part of a larger strategy that you are doing. Based on my experience, this is why it's important, I think, the sort of leaders we have in government. Because we have a lot of people in government today that hold the World Bank, the African Development Bank, the ADB in awe. As if when they come and make a pronouncement and say something, we must automatically do it. They are human beings. They don't have a lot of information in the country here. We in the country here, the leaders, we should determine our priorities. That should not be outsourced. That should not be something that is given to anyone from outside, no matter how much. But if you have leaders here that don't have the capabilities, these are the sort of leaders out of, basically due to low confidence, they take as, commandments, anything they hear from these development partners. It is a very, very big problem, and it's a very, very big problem that we have with this current government because of the poor leadership, starting from the president down to the minister of these key sectors.
Do you not think also, Usman, our focus is mainly generally not on the success of these so-called development projects? Because, for example, I ask that because if you go to my village, for example, there has been an EU-sponsored project for the building of fish ponds. Okay, so if you go to my village, if you are branching off from Bani,
yes,
there is a billboard there, fish pond in this something friendly village. There is no fish pond there.
Yeah.
And this board is all over this country.
Yes.
But there are no fish ponds anywhere.
I can tell you today, most of these projects, one thing they have succeeded in is littering our roads with signs.
Exactly.
Go to Sapo today. I plan to go there very soon and take some pictures. You go to Sapo today in CRR, you'll read signboards until you are tired. If all those signboards, they result in just 10% of what they claim,
promised.
Yes, this country would not be a poor country. For me, I think in the future, we should actually ban these signboards. Because to me, if you put a fish pond in a village or a women garden in a village, why do we need a signboard? What is more important is, if you want to demonstrate that you've done something there, is to take people to the site of the success.
Yes.
If you have a fish pond, take people and show them the fish pond. If you put a women garden there, take them and show them the women garden. If you did some agroforestry project, take them to the site. What we don't need is this. First of all, how many millions have been spent on these signboards, and what is their use?
I think, Usman, it takes us back to the fundamental question. For whom are these projects done for?
That's what I'm coming to answer your question.
Yeah.
So, by and large, these projects have not met the objectives that they have been designed. So when these projects come, they are viewed not as, opportunities to bring development to the people who they are intended for when you read the project documents. These basically become opportunities for supplementing incomes in these ministries. There is no position in government that is more coveted than a project office, than the persons responsible for implementing it. These are the most coveted areas, because when they come, the first thing you see is a vehicle. Before a single button reaches any person on the ground, is a Pajero, a Prado, or a Toyota pickup with the project name. Of course, along with that comes what? New desk, new computers, a new AC. And
the overhead cost, administration and all that thing goes probably several percent.
Meetings in Tendaba, in Genoa, in Apkas, in Sindola.
Outreach.
All of these things, those areas become very busy areas.
Yes.
So the problem here is currently in the current dispensation, either this problem...
But this has been historical, Usman.
Yes.
Even from the Jawara days.
It's been ongoing for quite a while. You are quite right. It didn't start with the current one. It just gotten worse. Yeah. That's why in 2026, I think the change here is people being aware of what the problems are fundamentally. Rather than just changing the name of the party or changing the person sitting at the State House.
I just also wish to draw another correlation. You see, because we have data to some extent to show Barrow's popularity. So in 2018, you are right that, because I was writing to Eurostats to provide me with migrant statistics. And I was not just asylum seekers, but I was those who have crossed all the borders and they are recorded in all the countries. I was requesting everything. I was requesting their age. I was requesting first-time
demographic info,
first-time asylum seekers, many, the age demographics and other things. And you could see that after 2017, the leaving has gone down.
Yes.
Took a nosedive.
Yes.
And you would see also in 2018, Barrow's popularity was all-time high. In fact, the Afro-Barometer survey ranked Barrow as the most trusted leader. Not the most trusted political leader, the most trusted leader, ahead of even Muslim clerics and all these things. And at this particular time, but at the time also the Barrow's popularity started taking a nosedive, and it probably reached a very high level by 2021. I remember the Afro-Barometer, even though the survey says that his popularity was still higher than the opposition. His popularity was still all-time low compared to the beginning. And at this very time also, migration started picking up. There seemed to have been loss of hope. Do you see what I mean?
Yes.
So migration seems to be connected to not just visible government presence in the life of the people. It seems to also be connected to hope.
Yeah.
No?
Indeed. No, it's I'm not surprised by that. I mean, at the we all had a lot of hope that this new administration, right after President Jammeh, things would look up. And I don't think it's not only ordinary Gambians, even development partners. There was a lot of assistance. I mean, when the Gambian delegation went to EU, the pledges that were made. Today, if this same government goes to EU, do you think they'll get a fraction of that pledge? No, because there was hope then. But after what has transpired, the lack of development, the incompetence that has been shown, the huge amount of corruption, the lack of desire to address these things, everyone who had hope lost hope. Listen, by 2017, 18, 19, many of these new political parties that are here today, they were not created then. Why do you think all of them came? Because of this lack of hope in the current system. So people's, for me, the migration that we are seeing right now of our young people is the best barometer of how well the economy is doing, and also the best barometer of the level of hope that we have in the country. Listen, you wouldn't, even if you are over a plane to go, most people wouldn't actually leave their country because they will try their chance in the country. But for somebody to take this highly risky trip, it must mean that they really are in despair in terms of what they could do or what opportunities are there for them if they were to stay here. So for me, we can think of this migration data, this tragic data of the high volume of Gambians leaving, of the high volume of Gambians that are dying along the way, as an indicator of how bad things are. It's an indicator of how bad the economic situation is, and it also is an indicator of the level of the low level of hope people have in the country. Yeah, so it's absolutely, it's really, nobody should pray to have such an indicator, but to me, it's a very reliable indicator of the current state of affairs in the country, and it's not good.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Gajigo, for stopping by. This has been very impressive conversation. I think that we're going to have a lot more conversations regarding migration in the coming days. It doesn't seem to be going down. I heard now they are taking off in Ginek. They chose Ginek because apparently they said they got Gambia police all in uniform So
that reputation has been with Ginek for quite a while.
And so because soldiers won't be there.
Now, it's a topic that requires a lot of conversation, and I'm glad it's a topic of our conversation today, and I hope there'll be more. But this is something that you've been talking about for a while, so I'm glad at least if the government is not going to address it, the rest of us have a duty to definitely talk about it because it affects all of us. Thank you very much.
Great. Viewers, thank you so much for being there with us all through to the end. And it's me, Mustapha K, with Dr. Usman Gajigo on Verified today. And do subscribe to our channel and share the content for more audience. Thank you so much. God bless you.